Welcome to the KO Boxing Show. Haven't we got a massive show tonight? None other than a WBC lightweight champion of the world, David Diaz, all the way from Chicago. Welcome to the KO Boxing Show.
Thank you very much for having me on the show today, Peter. I really appreciate it.
Great to have you on, David. Let's go over your career. You're a fantastic amateur. You fought Oktay Urkel and Zab Judo in the amateurs. What can you remember about fighting those two great fighters?
Well, with Oktay Urkel, the first fight we had was a dual meet against Germany. And I ended up fighting him, and he outboxed me. I felt he outboxed me, and he won the fight. But in the Olympics, I felt I beat him. But, you know, it's how it goes. And Zab Judah, we actually fought the same way it was with him. I fought him the first time in the PALS Nationals to try to make the Olympic trials. And we ended up losing a decision to him there. And then we met up in the trials again. And I beat him twice. I beat him at the box house and then in Augusta, Georgia for the berth to be an Olympian.
Then you turned pro and you had a fantastic career. In August 2007, you fought Eric Morales for the WBC lightweight world title. What can you remember about that night?
Well, for me, that night was honestly one of the best moments of my life. I was just going over some pictures that I had found. Well, actually, at Sam's Colonna's gym here in boxing, there's a old poster of the Chicago Golden Gloves being fought in the in the Rosemont Horizon, which is now called the Allstate Arena. So when we came to fight Eric Morales, we actually ended up fighting him in where it was the Rosemont Horizon, and it's now the Allstate Arena. And we had our last Chicago Golden Glove boxing tournament there, and I won there. And then I was like, man, it would be awesome to fight here one day for a title. So, and we ended up fighting Eric Morales for a WBC lightweight championship of the world. And it was honestly one of the best nights of my life.
What can you remember about the build up, and how was Eric Morales towards you? And was it were you feeling overawed that you're fighting a legend, or were you?
Well, I felt that I was fighting somebody of significance, somebody of high, how can you say, someone that you saw fighting. Yeah. I can't say he was my hero or that I idolized him, because I didn't. He wasn't a favorite of mine, but he was just someone that, wow, I seen on TV. He's fought Eric Morales. I mean, Barrera had great fights with him, Pacquiao and all that stuff. So for me, it was like, okay, this is your moment, David. If you're really about this life, about boxing and wanting to be the best in the world, this is who you have to fight and beat him. If you beat him, you're on your way. And we ended up fighting him, and it was a tough fight. I'm not gonna lie, I sit here, it was easy. It was a tough fight. Big moment in my life. But I felt that we did what we had to do in order for us to win the fight, and we ended up winning the fight. And again, one of the best nights of my life. My whole family, friends were able to see the fight. Didn't have to go to Vegas or pay-per-view or anything like that. And to be honest, even though it was in Chicago, we have a very big Mexican population here in Chicago. And I'm not gonna lie, I want to be honest, I kind of felt that it was more towards Morales than myself. And like I said that night, I can count the people that were there for me and know who they were. And those people that were there are the ones that helped me win this fight.
How was Morales after the fight? Was he gracious? Was he good? Or
nah, he wasn't. He wasn't gracious at all. He said that I was fighting dirty. He said that I didn't deserve to win the fight. That I had. He also claimed that the judges were in my favor. I'm like, how the hell are they going to be in my favor when I'm a guy who's trying to make it? You're the two-time world champion. You're the one that's been on pay-per-view for a long time and fighting. they're going to favor you more than they're going to favor me. So let's get that out of the way. But yeah, that's how it was. And to this day, it's not a, hey, how you doing? Or I'm not involved in the boxing world anyway, so I don't cross paths with them. So
okay. Then you won the world title, obviously. In June 2008, you fought the great Manny Pacquiao. What was that like, the build-up? What was the whole occasion like? What can you remember?
Well, for me, I felt, I honestly felt that I was going to beat Manny because I was bigger, I was stronger. He's coming up in weight class. And I had fought guys that were fast. So he didn't, I was like, I beat Zeb Judah. I fought Actarico. I fought guys that have speed. This guy's no different, So that was my mentality going into the fight. And boy, then first, second round, man, I realized I'm in over my head. And he's fast. If I could get him to slug it out with me, I think I'll have a chance. But he didn't, and he wouldn't. So every time we clenched, he would say break, 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 and then the referee would come in and break us out. So there wasn't a chance for me to really dog it out with him, and he didn't want to dog it out with me either. So he fought his fight, smart, boxed, and I tasted the canvas in the ninth round.
Was the build-up big for you? Was it something that you've never experienced before that kind of, did it? Because sometimes it's like a Super Bowl. You need to play one to get that feeling of being in that big stage. Was it a different atmosphere and a different feeling to any other normal fight? Because you're fighting, one of the most high profile.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Peter. It was the spotlight did not deter me or anything like that. It wasn't the spotlight. It wasn't the lights. It wasn't the cameras. It wasn't none of that. It was just that he was better than me. He was just faster than me. He could move around better than me. Should I fought a different fight? Yeah, but would it have been the same outcome? Who knows? Maybe, because he was a great fighter and the best I've ever fought, obviously. And we were there hanging in there until I made a mistake. I jabbed to the body and I turned my face away, and he came in with the left hand and caught me dead square in the chin, and that's how it went. But no, I don't think the magnitude or anything like that prevented me from executing what I needed to do. I in my mentality was, I'm gonna go rough him up, and I didn't, and I wasn't able to. That's what it was.
What was Manny like as a person leading up to the fight and after the fight? He's a gentleman, isn't he? He's
a great person. Yeah, great person, great. He's like, hey, good fight. Yeah, it was for you. Cordial, great person. Even to this day, some of his representatives and stuff like that communicate with me and stuff like that, because he's a senator now. He's a big guy.
He was going to be the president of the Philippines.
Right, he will be. He will be soon. It just takes time, right? With everything, it takes time. He even went to his birthday party that same year, and he was a good person. Good person.
No, great to hear that. And after Manny, you fought Jesus Chavez and you won a good 10-round fight. What can you remember about that fight?
Well, with Chavez, we had a nice fight. Hard fight as well too. Hurt him a couple of times, but ended up winning the decision. Again, with him, he's a great friend of mine as well. And he got what I could have done the best and most that I could at that time to try to beat him, and we ended up beating him. He always says that it was a favorite win.
Okay. Well, you had 41 professional bouts and you won 36. You had an awesome career, David. You You're one of the most charismatic fighters. We all love watching you fight. You're an action fighter. What do you do now? Because you mentioned off camera you're not really involved with boxing. You've got 3 sons. What's the life like now of David Diaz?
Right now, my life is pretty good. I can't complain. I'm able to have time with my kids. I have a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old boy. None of them ended up in the boxing game. It was they didn't gravitate to it. I took them to the gym a couple of times, but they didn't gravitate to it. My 2 oldest do baseball. I have my 17-year-old who's a left-handed pitcher and outfielder, and then my 15-year-old is catcher, second baseman, and shortstop here and there, and sometimes plays third. And then my little guy, I think we just found out that he might be a volleyball player, because we just had a block party for the 4th of July here in the States, and he was actually doing pretty good in volleyball, so we're like, hey, maybe we found your sport, because he does no sports whatsoever at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now we're like, hey, maybe you like volleyball. So we'll see. But he is a fantastic drawer. He's got a little talent in drawing. So we don't know where he's gonna focus his mind on yet. But as for me, I'm in real estate. We opened up. I started doing real estate here for about. I'm going on my 5th year as a real estate agent, and we own a company. It's called actually Main Event Real Estate. My wife is a managing broker, and I'm just a broker owner of the company. We have 14 agents right now in our company that are working.
What's the website again? Can you plug the website?
It's called maineventrealestate.com.
Wow.
Maineventrealestate.com. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, interested in Chicago or the surrounding areas, you guys can reach out to me at David Diaz, my Facebook, or Realtor Who Fights For You Instagram. And this is what I do now, real estate. So it's pretty
awesome. Cool. Awesome. But before we sign off the interview, I always like a funny story. What's the funniest incident? You know how the boxing world's a crazy world and things happen and you later explain to your mates, or if you're sitting down, what's the craziest story you got in your boxing career that you can share with us?
So I don't know if it's fun. Well, it's kind of funny, like my father, who passed away last year, he would always go to my fights. No, thank you. He would always go to fights, and he's been involved with me in boxing since I started 8 years old. And in the amateurs, one time my dad, we had gone to eat breakfast. I think it was at a restaurant or McDonald's or somewhere. And I left to go back to the room to relax. My dad stayed there a little bit. So he got tired and he started walking back to the hotel, but he got lost. So my dad got lost for like about 3 hours. He couldn't find him. Yeah. And it was in the hot. So when we found him, he was all chapped up, dehydrated and everything. So it was kind of funny. So fast forward into my professional career, we're in Vegas. Okay. My dad, he was a great man, did everything for his family. But my dad never learned English because he never went to school as a little kid. He didn't know how to read or write. All he knew how to do was write his name. So he didn't know how to read. So I think we were in what's that? The Tropicana. I think we were in the Tropicana, the ones that connect, all the hotels that they connect. So my dad, this was the fight before my Santa Cruz fight when I won the interim title.
Yeah.
My dad ends up getting lost.
Wow.
So we're all running around crazy. But they didn't want to tell me because I was in the I was relaxing because we were getting ready to fight. So they were all going crazy. I see my wife coming in and out of the room. And they didn't want to tell me nothing. So then I'm like, hey, what the hell's going on? And she's like, well, we can't find your dad. Your dad's lost and all this stuff. So they ended up finding him at the Bellagio or something like that. Going all the way. So I had told him, I was like, don't worry about it. He's done this before. We're gonna find him. And that's how it was. We ended up finding him, and that was my Vegas story for you guys. The other ones
thank you for sharing that, David. Well, thank you for your time, my friend, and all the best with your real estate and your next adventure in life. And you're a charismatic world champion, and no one can ever take the fact that you've been a WBC world champion. You've shared the ring with legends and defeated legends. And thank you, and you're a class act as well. Thank you, my friend.
No, thank you very much for you reaching out to me and making this guy relevant for a little bit again. And it feels good, and I appreciate it. And I also want to say that I always gave my all, the best that I had, and I think every fighter does that.
Yeah.
Because they love the sport, and they love fighting, and they love hearing the cheers and everything that along comes with it. Of course, we're never happy with the losses, but the wins are great. So right now I feel I'm winning though in life. So
that's the main thing. All right, David. Thank you for your time, my friend. God bless.
Thank you so much, Peter.
And if you're ever in Australia, we need to catch up for a steak.
Yeah, I need to go back to Australia because I went over there to Australia. I was in Australia with in camp with Costa Zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was over there. I love. Oh, big shout out to my friends out there in Australia. Big hug. Thank you guys so much for everything you've done for me over there. And look forward to going back there.
No, thank you, mate, as we say here.
Yes, sir, mate.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Bye.